Hey everyone, I'm Noam Siegel, and I've partnered with Genway to create a series of explainer videos about how to use Genway. And in this explainer series, I'm covering the entire workflow of using Genway, from crafting your research project to executing it to analyzing it, including all of the capabilities that Genway offers. In the previous episode, we covered Craft with AI, which is a framework Genway uses for any insight generating function to be able to create a research project using a 5-part framework, 5 questions that once you answer them, you can get going with your own project on Genway. In the previous episode, I worked on a project around health and fitness, and I'm going to continue working on that project as I walk you through all of the settings you can adjust and change in your own research projects. All right, so let's jump back into things. We are in the Health 2025 project. You can see the title up top in the middle of the screen. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the 5 Craft with AI questions that we responded to in order to set up the project. The first question being, what's the project's objective? And we had something here around uncovering insights about exercise and training trends for 2025. What topics we'll be covering, what we would consider a successful project outcome, who will we be interviewing in this project, and the general guidelines we want to add. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that as we go through all of the settings and the design for this project, we will see the adjustments being made on the right-hand side. This is a preview of what the screen will look like for a participant as an interviewee. And towards the end, I'll also get to how we can test out our project using 2 different methods and do so using the interface on the right-hand side. So these are the project details. And assuming we're happy with those details and there isn't anything we want to edit, we can move on. If there are things you want to edit, you can do that. You don't have to have project guidelines. You do have to answer the other 4 questions. And if you made any mistakes or you want to fix anything, no problem at all. You can edit those right here, delete, add, and then move on. Let's click on continue to settings. The first setting we have access to is the project description. This is something that only you and your teammates can see. So I might write something like, we're trying to help insert company here figure out their product roadmap for 2025, a health-related company. Let's say, for the sake of the example, Peloton might be a good example. In terms of interview length, you can choose different interview lengths, either 10, 15, or 20 minutes. It is important to note that if the system sees that it's hitting the time limit and the system still has some questions it would ideally like to ask, Genway will ask participants whether they'd like to stay for a few more minutes and complete the interview, or whether they would like to end it right on time. And depending on the response, Genway might fill in some details with a couple of extra minutes of interviewing. It depends on the participant's response, obviously. Next up, we have interview modes. Genway supports typing and talking, only typing, or only talking. I would typically use the talking setting rather than typing. But obviously, if you have participants with certain accessibility needs, or participants with lower internet bandwidth, or a certain type of device that would better support typing rather than talking, you can choose typing only, talking only, or both accordingly, and do whatever works for you. In terms of user authentication, there are several options for authentication. You can either opt for no authentication needed at all, you can authenticate with Google, or you can ask for a specific identifier, for example, your LinkedIn account. It can also be email or anything you wish, as stated in the placeholder text below. Then we have the company name. This is how the AI interviewer will present itself. In some cases, you would want participants to know who Genway is representing, what the brand is, what the company is. And this could be, for the sake of the example, Peloton, which is in the health industry. Or you could keep it empty or use a generic name. Here I have health tech. Let's change this to Peloton, just for the sake of the example. Genway can conduct interviews in multiple languages. So right now we have English selected, but there are a bunch of other languages Genway supports, including French, German, Spanish, Italian, Arabic, Russian, and quite a few more languages. So I can add Deutsch, German, I can add Italian, and I can also remove languages. For example, let's say I decided I don't want to interview in Italian, I can simply remove that. Next up, we have the interview limit. You can decide whether you want to limit the number of interviews conducted by Genway if you have a particular quota in mind. Let's say I'm cool with conducting 300 interviews. And then the final two settings, the first is the follow-up option. So do you want to ask interviewees at the end of the interview whether they would like to opt in for a follow-up interview with a member of your team? This can be an insight-generating function like research. This can be customer experience, customer support, customer success. Whoever's using Genway, you can use this and offer people to follow up with a human. And then finally, there is an option here for camera access, which will ask interviewees to enable their camera before the interview. Genway has noticed that when people are on camera, there are benefits to that. There's a certain mirror effect. It might impact the way people behave in an interview. And in general, it is a good practice to have people put their cameras on if possible, but it really depends on you and your preferences. Once you're feeling good about your settings, we can move on to the next step, which is the design. So I can click on Continue to Design. And here I have a few options to make the design a little bit better fitting to the company, the brand, or whatever you want it to fit to. So for example, I can add a logo. Let's add a version of the Peloton logo. And once I add that, you will notice that on the right-hand side of the screen, the logo updates to the Peloton logo. I can also choose different primary, secondary, and text colors. So for example, I might go with a kind of pinkish hue for the primary color and a similar but lighter secondary color. And once you choose those colors, you can see them pop up again in the right hand of the screen, which is what a participant would view if they were an interviewee. You can also add a background image. I haven't prepared one for this demonstration, but if you have a particular background you want to add, feel free to do. And that is what you can design at this point. Once you are ready with a design that fits your needs and your brand and your particular research project, you can move on to the final stage of the setup, which is sharing. Once you click on share, the first thing you'll notice is that you can choose between recruiting participants on your own using whatever platforms and systems you have access to, or recruiting with Genway and Genway's internal panel. We're not going to go into full detail about how to recruit with Genway in this demo, but if I click here, we have a few options around the number of participants we would like to complete these interviews, a brief recruitment description so participants know what they are going to be interviewed about, and then screening criteria. We can add all sorts of criteria from demographics, languages, work, education, to family and relationships, finance, health, technology and online behavior, and so much more, and get pricing and estimated time for the recruit on the right-hand side. And then ultimately, once we've added all of our criteria and set up our recruiting, we will get the number of eligible participants, the total cost of the project, the time to recruit, and the particular criteria applied. Let's go back to recruit on my own for the sake of things. And there's just a couple more things to talk about here. The first is that after the interview is complete, you can send interviewees to any custom page you wish. So for example, Genway AI /thank you. And so you can have your own custom thank you page that you set up or whatever works for you. And then finally, if you want to add a user ID, an identifier for tracking purposes, Genway has the capabilities for you to pass through whatever identifier you wish, and that can save both you and the participants time with identification and make sure that you're passing through any critical variables or participant characteristics that you need. We are almost ready to publish our project. The one thing left is to test it out, and there are two primary ways to do this on Genway. The first is to take the demo yourself, and I highly recommend you do that. On the right here, you can choose between talking or typing, just like you would in an actual interview. You can select your interviewer's voice. I'll go with Rebecca in this case. You can activate your camera and your microphone and allow that. And once you do all of that, you can start your interview and take the interview as if you were a participant. The other way you can test out your project is to generate an AI demo. What this does is it generates synthetic data, 3 interviews of an AI interviewing another AI. If you click on see demo of your interview, the system will go over all of the project details and guidelines. It'll write tailored questions for the AI interviewer. It'll write the answers for the demo AI interviewee. It'll finalize that structure and then start that demo, and you'll be able to check out the transcripts for all 3 of those interviews. In addition, if you took the interactive demo, you can also watch the past demos you did. And so right now this is empty, but once I take the demo, once I take an interview, you will see those interview transcripts here, and you'll be able to review them and make adjustments to your project until you feel like it's ready to publish. On that note, once the project is ready to publish, all you have to do is click on the top right hand of the screen where we see the publish button. And once you confirm the details of your study, such as the max interviewee limit, the length, the mode, the languages, etc., you can publish the project and copy that interview link, and then put that interview link in whichever system or platform you're using to socialize your research project and reach your participants. We are back on the Genway homepage now, and we have the Health 2025 project activated and ready to go. If I were to send this to participants, they would be able to interview with Genway right now, 24/7, whenever works for them, in multiple languages based on all of the settings we set up. Thank you, as always, for watching this. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to check out Genway yourself, try it out, see what AI interviewing is all about, go to www.genway.ai and open a free trial account so you can try it yourself. Again, thank you for watching. See you in the next episode. Bye.